Rain tapped the windows as Lynn shut the door behind her. Her apartment felt smaller than usual, walls closing in around disappointment. She kicked off her heels and tossed her phone onto the couch. The silence roared louder than the restaurant's entire dining hall. She leaned against the counter, palms shaking from holding back years of hurt. Her father's dismissive smile replayed like a cruel rewind. Mai's wide eyes dripping with shock and guilt flashed next. Lynn swallowed hard, but bitterness stuck like thorns in her throat. She flicked on the office light and stepped into the room that held her real story. Shelves of hiking gear lined the walls, each piece a chapter of struggle. She remembered folding the first batch of shirts at 2 a.m. She remembered packaging orders while her friends celebrated weekends. The late nights had become routine, ambition stronger than exhaustion. She dropped into her chair, the familiarity grounding her spinning thoughts. Her laptop hummed awake, welcoming her back to purpose. A spreadsheet opened automatically, rows filled with money she sent away. Each transfer was a small betrayal of herself, disguised as love. Her cursor hovered over the numbers, like hovering over old wounds. Mai's first message had been desperate, trembling through every word. "I just need help for a few months," she said back then. Lynn believed her, because that is what older sisters do. She typed temporary assistance, naive faith recorded in digital ink. Months became years, excuses became expectations, gratitude faded. Mai built a fantasy life, not a recovery plan. Designer shoes instead of saving accounts. High rises instead of humility. A glowing facade that needed constant funding to survive. Lynn shut the laptop suddenly, pulse pounding. Her family worshipped appearances like fragile glass trophies. They crowned Mai the golden one, perfect by illusion. They labeled Lynn reckless, chasing silly online dreams. Yet Lynn carried both her success and their burden silently. The truth tonight was a liberation she never dared imagine. She paced the room, breath uneven, anger shaping clarity. Her sacrifices did not fail, they simply fed the wrong fire. She grabbed a notebook and flipped to a fresh page. Pen to paper, she wrote a question that burned bright. What if I invest in myself instead? The words looked rebellious, almost dangerous. Yet they felt like freedom dressed in ink. She sat again and opened her business plan. New goals stared back, Canada first, then Europe. Numbers sparked possibility, profit turning into power. She imagined hearing staff to ease the endless workload. She imagined a warehouse replacing the cramped apartment. Her phone buzzed, breaking momentum. Mai again, messages sharp as broken glass. "You ruined everything," the text accused. Another message came seconds later. "Call me now, my rent is due." Lynn let the phone buzz until the sound became pathetic. She closed her eyes and inhaled slowly. No more saving someone from a hole she dug herself. No more buying acceptance from a family blind to her worth. Her shoulders straightened as though new wings unfolded. Tomorrow would bring fear, guilt, maybe confrontation. Although tonight brought something precious. A promise whispered only to the brave. Lynn would no longer dim her light for anyone. Morning light crept through thin curtains as Lynn forced herself out of bed. Her body felt heavy from emotional bruises that hadn't formed yet. Coffee brewed in slow drips, more patient than people had ever been with her. She checked her business dashboard on her phone, eyes sharpening with focus. Orders piled up overnight, dozens of new customers waiting for gear. That small screen held proof of her value, undeniable and earned. She set her mug down and opened her banking app. A single screen controlled years of guilt and obligation. Her thumb hovered over the transfer settings, nerves sparking. Cancel recurring payment. The words were a doorway to a different life. She tapped once, then again to confirm, heart thumping like a warning siren. A notification popped up. Transfer canceled successfully. Her breath left her chest in a shaky release that tasted like relief. She stared at the phone, as if expecting the universe to applaud. No applause came, only a quiet pride filling the silence. Mai's calls started almost instantly. 5 rings, then voicemail filled with tears and anger. Lynn placed the phone face down and exhaled slowly. Not this time. Her boundaries needed a guardian, and she finally volunteered. She gathered shipping boxes from the hallway and set up her table. Tape ripped sharply through the apartment, slicing tension with every pull. She printed labels, double-checked contents, built momentum. Each package leaving her home carried a piece of her resilience. Her email chimed with a message from her mentor. Lan asked if she had thought more about international expansion. Lynn typed back immediately, fingers charged with newfound certainty. I'm ready to move forward. Within minutes, Lan responded with a meeting link and projections attached. Graphs and numbers glowed on screen like a treasure map. Potential profits stretched far beyond anything her family imagined. Work swallowed the hours whole, the best kind of escape. By noon, her living room had transformed into a miniature warehouse. Sticky notes scattered like confetti from a quiet celebration. She took a break only when her phone buzzed again. Mai's name appeared alongside a long paragraph of blame. Every sentence painted Lynn as selfish for choosing herself. Old Lynn might have replied with apologies and money. New Lynn locked the screen and tossed the phone away. The decision felt like shedding a skin that never fit right. She cooked a simple lunch, comfort without guilt seasoning every bite. In the afternoon, she updated her website with new product photos. Browsing customers left comments praising quality and design. Validation arrived from strangers when family refused to offer it. She smiled, surprised by how light pride could feel. Her father's voice haunted the edges of her memory. Find a real career. She whispered the truth, aloud to no one but herself. This is real. I am real. She checked inventory, updated costs, recalculated shipping for Canada. Profit margins danced higher, a silent victory parade. Phone buzz again. This time a voicemail from Mai's friend, tone judgmental. It's cruel to abandon family when they depend on you. Lynn clenched her jaw but did not bend. Dependence built on lies could not be called love. Her apartment door rattled as a delivery arrived. New stock, fresh and full of possibility. She signed for the boxes, thanking the courier with a genuine smile. These weren't just products. They were her passport to a future she chose. Lynn sliced the tape open and touched the gear inside. Her creations, her sweat, her intelligence woven into every detail. The world expected her to shrink. She intended to expand. Even fear couldn't compete with the fire catching in her chest. Tonight she would send the last package and sleep soundly. Tomorrow she would rise again, stronger than doubt, clearer than guilt. The path ahead was finally hers, unshared, unborrowed, and undeniable. The week surged forward, momentum replacing hesitation. Lynn woke early each morning, fueled by purpose instead of anxiety. Boxes towered like cardboard skyscrapers around her workspace. Her label printer whirred nonstop, a small machine shouting success. She hired a virtual assistant after 3 interviews, smart and quick. Her first employee, a milestone that felt like leveling up in life. Training calls filled her afternoons, laughter mixing with logistics. Confidence slipped into her voice without needing permission anymore. She filmed short videos of product demos, clumsy but charming to viewers. Orders doubled, then tripled, a wave she refused to fear. Every package shipped carried her name further from doubt. Her mentor scheduled a call about Canadian distribution requirements. Lynn listened intently, taking notes with practiced precision. The numbers sounded big, but so did her courage now. A new spreadsheet tracked goals that once felt impossible. Her phone buzzed with messages from Trang cheering every update. Support that felt pure, unlike the demands she cut loose. Evenings turned into creative brainstorming sessions. She redesigned packaging using biodegradable materials, planet-friendly pride. Positive reviews poured in, customers tagging Leopeak across social media. They called her products durable, stylish, surprisingly personal. Validation from strangers warmed places, once bruised by criticism. Competitive stores began following her accounts, curious eyes watching rise. Her father's old words tried to sneak in sometimes, whispering doubt. She silenced them with profit charts sharp as truth. One night, exhaustion punched harder than motivation. She slumped onto the floor, surrounded by half-packed orders. Tears threatened, not from sadness but from the sheer scale. This dream was growing faster than she could carry alone. She grabbed her phone and called Trang without hesitation. Minutes later, Trang arrived with takeout and bright energy. They worked together, assembly line chaos turning into joyful rhythm. Lin realized help felt different when freely given, not demanded. Their laughter spilled into hallways, happiness louder than stress. Between labels and tape, Trang pointed at shipping data. Canada is obsessed with you, she teased warmly. Lin smiled, letting pride curl around her like a soft blanket. The next morning, her mentor emailed with exciting news. A Canadian retailer wanted a meeting about winter gear. Lin stared at the screen, heartbeat racing like a drumline. She brewed coffee to steady shaking hands, but joy trembled anyway. She rehearsed her pitch in the mirror, posture tall, voice sure. The meeting went smoothly, her passion too real to ignore. A trial partnership was offered before the call even ended. Lin muted the mic and punched the air in triumph. Self-belief tasted richer than any praise she had chased before. She rewarded herself with a single cupcake topped with hope. Even the smallest celebrations mattered in this rebirth. Mai's absence haunted the edges sometimes, a reminder of wounds. But emptiness from silence hurt less than emptiness from exploitation. Lin organized her shelves again, clearing clutter and old guilt. Fresh products lined the wall, soldiers ready for deployment. She stuck a sticky note above her desk, simple words sharp. Choose yourself first. She stared at it whenever doubt tried to return. One night, a new message from her mentor arrived. Let's talk about Europe next. Lin sat very still, a soft laugh slipping out. Success no longer felt like luck, it felt like repayment. Every scar contributed to the blueprint she built from scratch. Her shoulders relaxed as she leaned back, gazing around. This room once held fear of not being enough. Now it held proof of everything she always was. Tomorrow could bring chaos, challenges, unexpected storms. She would meet them all, unbreakable and unashamed. Her story was no longer about survival. It was about expansion, evolution, and finally arriving. The limits she once obeyed had dissolved into dust behind her. Nothing would stop her from climbing higher than anyone expected. Her phone buzzed late afternoon, an unfamiliar silence following the ring. Lin checked the screen and froze when she saw the name. Her father stood on the other side of the door moments later. He looked smaller than usual, burdened by questions he never asked before. She stepped aside, letting him enter her crowded living room. His eyes widened at the sight of organized chaos everywhere. Boxes labeled with cities, invoices pinned neatly to walls. A system built from grit, not anyone's approval. He reached for a hiking pole, turning it slowly in his hands. "What is this made of?" he asked, voice cautious and genuine. She explained each part, her patents, her sustainable materials. His nod felt respectful, unfamiliar but welcome. He walked around slowly, absorbing every detail. Not a hobby table, not a passing phase, but a real operation. "Do people actually buy all this?" he asked, still stunned. Lin opened her laptop and showed revenue graphs rising sharp. His breath caught at numbers that defied his assumptions. For years, he believed success required a corporate office. He believed Mai's uniform and titles meant security. He believed Lin chose the unstable path. Now he stood inside stability he never recognized as legitimate. He took a deep breath, searching for words that fit a new reality. "I misjudged you," he said, voice low as confession. "Your work, it's impressive, more than I ever understood." Lin didn't know where to put the sudden warmth in her chest. She waited, afraid praise might turn into guilt again. Instead, he continued walking, curiosity replacing prideful blindness. "Why didn't you tell us it was like this?" he asked quietly. Lin swallowed hard, honesty rising like a tide. "Because whenever I shared anything, you compared me to Mai." He blinked, as though the truth struck him physically. "I thought she needed more support," he said, almost defensive. "You always handled everything on your own." Lin's voice cracked despite her calm posture. "Handling things alone doesn't mean not needing support." Silence stretched long enough to reveal years of misunderstanding. He rubbed the back of his neck, regret heavy in his eyes. "What do you need from me now?" he asked sincerely. Lin hesitated, unused to being offered care instead of criticism. "I just need you to see me," she whispered finally. He nodded, emotion tightening his jaw. "I see you now," he replied, almost breaking. Her phone buzzed again from the table, Mai's name flashing brightly. He noticed and sighed, guilt deepening the lines on his face. "She told me she might be evicted," he said carefully. Lin returned to sealing a package, tape snapping clean. She can afford her life if she lives the life she earns. He watched her work with a mixture of pride and sorrow. "You think I enabled her," he said without accusation. Lin didn't have to answer. He already knew. He clasped his hands together, searching for redemption. "I want to fix what I broke," he murmured. "You can start by not asking me to fix it for you," she replied. The truth healed and hurt at the same time. He nodded slowly, accepting the boundary like a vow. Before leaving, he paused at the door, turning back to her. "Your company, it's real, more real than anything I celebrated." Lin held his gaze, letting the moment anchor deep inside. His pride had always been reserved for someone else. Now it belonged to her, earned by merit, not myth. When the door clicked shut behind him, she exhaled relief. One relationship repaired, one storm still brewing. But for the first time, she knew which one she would weather. Holiday decorations sparkled throughout her father's house. The table was set with careful precision and ceramic pride. Relatives filled the rooms with gossip soft as static noise. Lin placed her homemade dish quietly among store-bought offerings. She smoothed her sweater and braced for familiar judgment. Mai arrived late, perfume strong enough to claim territory. Her heels clicked confidence she no longer owned truthfully. Fake smiles stretched across her lips like cheap gift wrap. She hugged everyone dramatically, seeking applause and affection. Her gaze finally landed on Lin, sharp as accusation. Dinner conversation drifted through football predictions and holiday plans. Lin tried to focus on her plate, not expectations. Mai cleared her throat to draw every eye in the room. "I'm grateful for family support during difficult times," she declared. Her tone played the victim perfectly, practiced and polished. She stared pointedly at Lin while swirling her wine. Lin kept her fork steady despite the pressure building. Their father shifted uncomfortably, sensing manipulation too clearly. "How work, Mai?" he asked, voice casual but strategic. Mai blinked, surprised the line didn't follow her script. "There are rumors of layoffs," she said with forced tremble. The room murmured sympathy, like a warm blanket of denial. Her father set his glass down with quiet finality. "I called your manager last week," he began steadily. Silence snapped across the table like breaking ice. "You've never been promoted like you claimed," he continued. Mai's smile cracked, a mask too fragile for truth. Relatives exchanged looks, confusion piling like snowfall. "Everyone exaggerates a little online," Mai insisted shrilly. Her voice shook like a chandelier in a storm. Uncle Min leaned forward, eyebrows raised in disbelief. So the fancy business trips were pretend too? He asked. Color drained from Mai's cheeks as lies unraveled publicly. Even her jewelry looked cheap under the new lighting of truth. Aunt Han stared at Lin with wide astonishment. You paid for all of it, she whispered slowly. Lin nodded once, not proud, not ashamed, just honest. Her father spoke again, pain woven through every word. Over 2 years of support, while we doubted the wrong child. Mai's eyes shimmered with tears no longer persuasive. You always loved her more, she choked out defensively. Her father flinched, wounded by her warped version of reality. We supported you because we thought you needed more, he said. But that made us blind to her, he added softly. Mai slammed her napkin onto the table and stood abruptly. Anger and embarrassment battled behind her ruined mascara. She grabbed her purse like a shield against the world. I don't have to stay where I'm humiliated, she hissed. She left in a storm of perfume and unfinished sentences. The door thudded shut, echoing long after her exit. Lin stared at her plate, appetite vanished completely. Her father exhaled a lifetime of mistakes into the air. He stood and lifted his glass, voice rough with emotion. To seeing people as they are, not as we imagine. Glasses clinked, fragile but sincere in their unity. Warmth flickered inside Lin, where doubt once lived rent-free. She looked around the table and saw something new. Not perfection. Not comparison. Recognition. Her father smiled at her with pride unspoken yet loud. For the first time in years, she no longer felt like the invisible daughter at a family dinner. Snowflakes drifted past the window like tiny hesitant dreams. Lin tucked her hair behind her ear, heart steady for once. Her father's house glowed warm with cinnamon and laughter. Holiday music played softly, promising peace that felt earned. She helped arrange plates, each one a quiet tradition. The door opened with a gust of cold and nerves. Mai stepped inside wearing a modest coat instead of luxury. No designer logos, no dramatic entrance chasing attention. Just a tired girl learning how to start over. She offered a cautious smile, unsure if she was welcome. Relatives greeted her with gentler energy this time. Empathy replaced envy now that truth had spoken clearly. Mai approached Lin, steps small but meaningful. Happy holidays, she whispered, voice softer than before. Lin nodded, accepting peace without conditions or bitterness. Dinner began with stories, small jokes, and careful laughter. Mai listened more than she talked, a noticeable shift. She ate quietly, instead of performing her importance. Her father watched both daughters with cautious hope. He asked Mai how school preparation was going. I'm enrolling in business courses next semester, she answered. No bragging, no embellishment, just reality she could hold. Books would cost money, but her pride insisted she try. Then, like a script, she tried to revive old habits. It's just very expensive, she murmured pointedly toward Lin. The room held its breath waiting for Lin's surrender. Pressure curled through her shoulders, but she stayed grounded. Calm strength filled her voice, unwavering and kind. I have something better than money to offer, she said. Eyes widened around the table, suspense thick as frosting. Lin opened her laptop to a presentation she prepared. Leo Peak's logo appeared beside major retailer partnerships. Photos of the new warehouse slid across the screen proudly. Growth charts soared upward like mountains waiting to climb. Mai stared in disbelief, realizing what Lin had built. Not a hobby, not luck, but relentless ambition. I'm offering you a paid internship, Lin continued. You'll learn operations, logistics, real skill for your future. Mai blinked through shock, pride, and wounded ego. You want me to work for you? She asked quietly. Work with me, Lin corrected, leaving dignity on the table. Their father nodded, with a firmness that supported growth. It's a real opportunity, he said, choosing truth over indulgence. Mai bit her lip, resisting the instinct to argue. She wasn't the golden child tonight. She was simply a young woman learning accountability. After a long breath, she nodded once. "I'll think about it," she said, voice small but honest. "That's enough for now," Lin replied, offering space, not judgment. Dessert arrived, laughter warming corners once chilled by resentment. Later, Mai slipped a small envelope into Lin's hand. Inside was a handwritten note, folded with trembling care. "Thank you for believing I can do better," it read. Lin looked up to see Mai watching, hope in her eyes. Not manipulation. Not entitlement. Just gratitude and fear of failing again. Lin squeezed her sister's hand, gently in response. Healing didn't require applause, just consistency. Days passed into weeks, and progress sprouted quietly. Mai attended early meetings, took notes, asked questions. She learned inventory mistakes cost money she couldn't afford. She learned showing up matters more than showing off. Lin watched from a distance, proud but cautious. Trust rebuilt itself, one small responsibility at a time. Their father visited the warehouse often, eyes shining wide. He carried boxes sometimes, rediscovering purpose through service. The family narrative shifted away from comparison and illusion. Lin's success created stability, not superiority. Mai's growth created respect, not rivalry. One evening after class, Mai lingered nervously by the door. "I want to accept the internship," she said firmly. "And I want to earn what I used to take." Lin nodded, pride sweet as warm chocolate. She handed Mai a name badge engraved with her role. No pedestal. No crown. Just a beginning grounded in truth. Their shadows no longer competed for attention. They walked side by side into a future they chose. The weight of the past finally lifted, replaced by possibilities. Sisters, not adversaries. Partners in progress. The storefront ribbon gleamed red beneath morning sunlight. A cheering crowd gathered outside, excitement buzzing like electricity. Lin gripped the oversized scissors, breath steady and proud. Mai stood beside her in a Leo Peak uniform earned through effort. Their father watched from the front row, eyes full of redemption. The ribbon snapped clean, applause erupting around the sisters. Photographers captured the moment's success, finally spoke loudly. A reporter asked what changed everything for her company. Lin smiled with confidence, sharpened by struggle and truth. "I invested in what was real," she answered simply. Later, they celebrated at a small table with warm food. Mai raised her water glass, sincerity glowing in her voice. "To honesty, growth, and second chances," she said softly. Lin clinked glasses, gratitude overflowing without pain attached. Her phone buzzed with a new bank notification quietly. Mai transferred a small repayment labeled for the first chapter. Lin tucked her phone away, heart full and forward-facing. The past no longer owned her, nor defined her worth. She walked into her store, future wide open like a trail.